A setter let us update a value like a normal property without calling a function. Let's see how together. In this example, we want to see how you can use a setter to set a property value without using parentheses. Let us look at how we can use a setter method to update a property from one value to another. In this example, I have itemized the steps that we need to follow through comments in this script section. The first one says create class and property. 2 says create setter. 3 says create getter method. 4 create object. Number 5 use setter to set value, and number 6 access the value. So the first thing is to first create class and property. And how do we do that? Well, you create a class using the class keyword. Class, what should we call it? Let's call it car as well. And then inside it, you can add a property and use a constructor that accepts a brand and return it. Now we have a class and a property. So the next step is create setter. So this holds the initial value. The underscore car name that you can see here is what holds the initial value of what we are going to be passing, as you will see in this example. So let's move on and create the setter method itself. So set and call it car name as well. So it's expected to take a parameter inside that x and call new equals to x. So the next step is create getter. So now we need to create a get method as well. Get car name, return this dot underscore car. Now, so we have our setter method and we also have our getter method, and we have our class here as the blueprint for what we are about to do. Now, the next step is to create objects. So we'll come outside of the class to create an object. So let's call the object my car, and then make a new instance from what we have. So let me pass thing forward as the car. Now, if I pass thing forward, of course, on the screen, nothing is showing now, but I can as well output it to show you the initial value. Document.get element by ID demo.inner.html for update equals my car. If I do something like this, let's see, what do you think is going to happen? Object, because this is not how to access an object. So we need a property of that object. So if I do my car.scanning, now you can see Ford, which is the initial value that is being added inside this property that we have in the class. Now, in order to use a setter to update the initial value, then I need to do something else, which is this step 5, which says use setter to set value. So we now need to use this setter to set a value, because the purpose of a setter method is usually to update a value. So we need it to update our car name in this example, while the getter method is going to return the value. So let's now call the setter automatically. So it's based like a function, it's a method, but works like a function under the hood. So how do I do that? So I just go ahead and call my object name, and then call the car name of the setter, and then set it to something else, like, let me say Toyota. Now look at it. You can see that on my screen. Now the name of the car has changed from Ford, that I used to have as the initial value, to Toyota, which is a new name of my car after I have used setter in order to set the value of what I have now inside my car name. So what we have here is that object starts with Ford and it's stored inside this actual property, the car.name. Then we use the setter method, and then this setter method ensures that the underscore car name is updated then this getter retrieves the value. Because if you look at this getter method, you can see that it's actually not doing anything, it's not taking any parameter, it's just returning value. And then the new value is now being displayed here when we created an object. Now, if you look at this, my car.car name equals to Fovo. If I change this to my car.car name equals to Toyota. What I was saying is, if I change this to Fovo now, as you will see that the value will also get updated, Fovo. And now you can see, that this looks like a normal assignment. My car.car name equals to Fovo. It looks like a normal assignment, and and as it is now, there are no parentheses around it. We are not doing something like this. And you can see, we are not doing anything like this. Without parentheses, this also works fine. So which means that it is not a mandatory something to do. So it's optional. So you can see we are doing it directly as we have here, and it's giving us our correct output of what is expected. And that is because the setter runs behind the scenes. So we just need to invoke it to call it, and then it will run under the hood to give us the expected result. Even though it looks like a property, look at it, my car.car name equals to Volvo, but it is actually calling a function, and that function is our setter method that is running under the hood. So when we assign a value, the setter runs automatically, and we don't need to call it like a function. So we don't need to call it like this and say maybe my car.name or whatever it is. You don't need to do it like this. No, it will not work. So we need to call it like a property, but under the hood, it runs like a function. So to use a setter, we assign a value just like a normal property. Even though it looks simple as it is now, right? JavaScript runs the setter function behind the scene. Now, are we calling a function here? Of course, yes. But JavaScript is the one handling it. We are not the one explicitly telling JavaScript on how to handle the value or how to run the value. JavaScript is handling that automatically. Key takeaways from this lesson: setters use assignment syntax. As you can see, this is an assignment syntax without any brackets or parentheses, and we don't need any parentheses for it. Also, setter runs automatically. The function runs behind the hood automatically, and it works together with getter as well. So setters make objects easier to use because they behave like normal properties, even though they are functions under the hood.